He was wrong. Beneath that mound lay the ruins of Harappa, one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. But it would take another 70 years before anyone realized it. In 1920, archaeologists began excavating. What they found shocked the world. This wasn't a small settlement. This was a city, planned, engineered, and built to last. The man overseeing this work was Sir John Marshall, Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India. He had spent years excavating in Greece and Egypt. Nothing prepared him for what his teams were about to find. And Harappa was just the beginning. In 1922, another mound was investigated, about 400 miles to the south. The locals called it Mohenjo-daro, the Mound of the Dead. Beneath it lay a city even larger than Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. At its peak, it may have housed 40,000 people. In September 1924, Marshall announced the discovery to the world. He compared the find to the deciphering of Egyptian hieroglyphs, a civilization as old as the pyramids, completely unknown until that moment. The announcement stunned historians everywhere. Marshall spent the rest of his career studying these cities. He never learned what the people called themselves. He never read a word of their writing. But he gave the world its first glimpse of a civilization that had been waiting, silent, for 4,000 years. To understand how extraordinary these cities were, you need to compare them to their contemporaries. In Egypt, the pharaohs were building temples to the gods. In Mesopotamia, kings were constructing palaces for themselves. But in the Indus Valley, they built something different. They built for people. The cities were laid out on a grid system. Streets ran north-south and east-west, intersecting at right angles. This wasn't organic growth. This was planned from the very beginning. In the ancient world, this was unprecedented. Egyptian cities grew organically around temples. Mesopotamian cities sprawled around palaces. But the Indus cities were designed, every street, every drain, every house, before a single brick was laid. The houses themselves were remarkable. Most were built of standardized baked bricks, all the same size, all the same ratio, 1 to 2 to 4, across hundreds of cities, for centuries. For the Bronze Age, this level of standardization across such a vast region was almost impossible to believe. The houses had indoor plumbing, on a scale the ancient world had never seen. Let me say that again. 4,000 years ago, indoor plumbing. Every house had a private well. Many had bathing platforms. Wastewater flowed through covered drains into city sewers, some of which were large enough for a person to walk through. The drains were regularly cleaned. Inspection holes were built into the system. This was municipal infrastructure on a scale few ancient societies would match for centuries. And then there was the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, a massive waterproof tank 12 meters long, 7 meters wide, and nearly 3 meters deep. It was lined with fitted bricks and sealed with a layer of bitumen, natural tar. No one knows exactly what it was used for. Was it a public bath? A religious ritual tank? A testing ground for waterproofing techniques? The mystery remains. But here's what makes the Indus Valley truly strange. There are no palaces, no temples, no monumental architecture built to glorify a king or a god. In every other ancient civilization, the biggest buildings were for the rulers or the gods. In the Indus Valley, the biggest structures were for the community. The Great Bath, massive storage structures, the sewer system. So who ruled the Indus Valley? We don't know. There are no statues of kings, no royal inscriptions, no records of conquest, no depictions of armies. Some archaeologists believe the Indus Valley was a society without rulers, an egalitarian civilization where decisions were made collectively. If so, it would be one of the largest and most complex low-hierarchy societies ever built. But others disagree. They argue that such an organized society must have had leaders, perhaps a council of elders or a merchant elite. Without written records, we simply can't know. What we do know is that the Indus people were traders. Seals found in Mesopotamia, over 2,000 miles away, prove that the Indus Valley traded with cities like Ur and Uruk. The seals themselves are masterpieces. Small, square, carved from steatite, a soft stone that hardens when heated. Each seal bears an image and a line of script. The most common image is the unicorn. Not the medieval European unicorn, but a one-horned bull-like creature. It appears on over 60% of all seals. Why? Nobody knows. Some scholars think the unicorn was a symbol of a clan or a trading house. Others believe it was a religious symbol, perhaps a sacred animal. Without the script, we can only guess. And then there's the Pashupati seal. It shows a figure seated in a cross-legged position, surrounded by animals. An elephant, a tiger, a rhino, a buffalo. Some believe it's an early representation of Shiva, the Hindu god. If true, this would mean the Indus Valley religion influenced Hinduism, a tradition that still has over 1 billion followers today. The roots of one of the world's largest religions may lie in these ancient cities. We know very little about how the Indus people actually practiced religion day to day. No temples survive, if temples ever existed at all. What we have instead are small clues, figurines, fire altars, and offerings left in unexpected places. Archaeologists have found small fire altars in some homes, circular pits lined with ash, sometimes near animal bones. Whether these were for cooking, ritual, or both, we can't be certain. The line between the sacred and the everyday may not have existed the way we imagine it. Their diet, by contrast, is easier to reconstruct. Wheat and barley were staples. Archaeologists have found evidence of rice, peas, sesame, dates, and cotton, one of the earliest known uses of cotton cloth anywhere in the world. They kept cattle, water buffalo, sheep, and goats. Fish from the rivers and the sea supplemented their diet. Spices, turmeric, ginger, have been found in residue on ancient cooking vessels. This wasn't a culture of bare survival. It was a culture that cooked, seasoned, and shared meals. But the most famous artifact from the Indus Valley isn't a seal. It's a small bronze statue, just 10 centimeters tall. The dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro. She stands with her head tilted back, one hand on her hip, the other resting on her thigh. Her expression is fierce. Her posture is bold. She doesn't look like a subject. She looks like someone who owns the room. We don't know who she was. A dancer? A priestess? A queen? A symbol? She remains one of the most enigmatic figures of the ancient world. Another famous artifact is the Priest King, a small stone statue of a bearded man with a headband and a robe decorated with trefoil patterns. He looks like a ruler, but we don't know if he was actually a priest or a king. The name was given by archaeologists. The Indus people left no label, no inscription, no explanation. He may have been a leader, or just a man. The Indus people also had standardized weights and measures, cubical stone weights in a precise ratio, doubling in sequence: 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. This system was used across the entire civilization. This level of standardization across such a vast area implies something remarkable. Though scholars disagree on what. Some see evidence of strong central coordination. Others believe shared customs could spread this widely without any ruler enforcing them. and yet very little evidence of organized warfare. No large fortifications built for defense. No weapons of conquest found at scale. Compare this to the Bronze Age civilizations of the Mediterranean. The Mycenaeans built cyclopean walls. The Hittites fortified their capital. Egypt carved battle scenes on every temple. The Indus Valley had walls, but they were for flood control, not defense. They had tools, but for farming and craft, not weapons of war. This was a society that apparently resolved conflict without armies. Or perhaps they were so wealthy and so well organized that no one dared attack them. Or perhaps we simply haven't found the evidence of their military yet. The mystery endures. The Indus people were also master craftsmen. They worked in bronze, copper, gold, silver, and semi-precious stones. Their jewelry and beads were so fine that they were traded across the ancient world. What did they wear? Cotton cloth, dyed in reds and blues from natural pigments. Jewelry wasn't just for the wealthy. Beads and bangles have been found in homes across every social level archaeologists can identify, suggesting personal adornment was part of everyday life, not just status display. They made toys, small carts with movable wheels, animal figurines, miniature houses. These weren't ceremonial objects. They were children's toys. A civilization that made space for childhood. They also made games. The earliest known version of a board game, a precursor to games still played in South Asia today, was found at Harappa. They weren't just surviving, they were playing, thinking, enjoying life. But the most tantalizing mystery of the Indus Valley isn't what they built, it's what they wrote. The Indus script consists of about 400 distinct signs. They appear on seals, on pottery, on metal tools, and on small tablets. The average inscription is just 5 symbols long. For over a century, scholars have tried to crack it. Researchers from many countries, linguists, mathematicians, computer scientists. Every approach has been attempted. Every method has failed. The problem is fundamental. To decipher a lost script, you usually need a bilingual text, like the Rosetta Stone, which had the same message in Greek and Egyptian hieroglyphs. The Indus Valley left no such key, and the inscriptions are too short, 5 symbols on average. Statistical analysis needs longer texts to identify patterns. With such brief messages, it's nearly impossible to determine whether the script represents a language, a code, or just symbols. In 2004, 3 researchers published a paper questioning whether the Indus script was a writing system at all. They argued it could be political or religious symbols, like medieval heraldry, rather than language. This theory was met with strong opposition. Many scholars argued that the script must represent a language, perhaps Dravidian, perhaps Indo-Aryan, or perhaps a language family now lost entirely. In 2009, a team used computer algorithms to analyze the script. They found that the pattern of symbols was consistent with a written language. The symbols weren't random. They followed rules, like words in a sentence. But knowing it's structured is not the same as reading it. The signs seem to follow rules, like words in a sentence. But whether they record a spoken language and what that language was remains unsolved. Imagine standing in a library where every book is in a language no one on earth can read. That's the Indus Valley, a civilization that wrote, recorded, communicated, and we can't hear a single word. So what do the seals tell us even without the script? The images are revealing. Animals, bulls, elephants, tigers, rhinos, crocodiles. These were the creatures of the Indus floodplain. Some seals show scenes of ritual, a figure sitting in a yoga pose, a person near a composite beast, a goddess between 2 branches of a tree. These images hint at a rich spiritual life, but one we can only glimpse, not understand.
The seals may have been used in trade, pressed into clay to mark goods, or they may have been amulets, identity markers, or religious objects. Without the script, each interpretation is just a guess. But while the writing remains silent, the cities speak volumes. And what they say is, this was a civilization unlike any other. Dolavira, another major Indus city, reveals something even more remarkable. It was built on an island in a salty desert, and it had a water management system that would be impressive by modern standards. The city had 16 massive reservoirs, some cut directly into bedrock. Together, they could hold enough water to sustain the city through years of drought. In a region that receives less than 500 millimeters of rain annually, this was survival engineering. The reservoirs were connected by a network of channels and drains that directed rainwater into storage. Overflow channels prevented flooding. The system was so well designed that some of these reservoirs still hold water today, 4,000 years later. But then something happened. Around 1900 BC, about the same time the Bronze Age collapse was beginning in the Mediterranean, the Indus Valley Civilization began to decline. The cities weren't destroyed. There's no evidence of invasion, no burning, no massacre. Instead, the city simply emptied. People left. The buildings crumbled. The drains clogged. The Great Bath went dry. So what killed the Indus Valley Civilization? Much like the Bronze Age collapse, no single answer fully explains it. The most likely picture is several pressures converging over generations, not a single sudden cause. The first theory is climate change. Sediment cores from the Arabian Sea, studied through changes in oxygen isotopes in fossil plankton, show a dramatic weakening of the summer monsoon beginning around 2200 to 2000 BC, right as the Indus cities began to decline. The rains that fed the Indus River began to weaken, not overnight, but across generations. A monsoon that arrived reliably every year became unpredictable. For a civilization built entirely around the rhythm of the river, this was catastrophic. The Indus civilization depended on the river, not just for water, but for agriculture, for trade, for the very soil that made their cities possible. When the river declined, the cities became unsustainable. The second theory involves rivers themselves. The Gagar-Hakra river system, possibly the ancient Saraswati River mentioned in the Vedas, is believed to have dried up or shifted course around this time. Many Indus cities were built along this river. Aerial surveys and geological studies have traced the ancient course of this river system across hundreds of kilometers. Entire chains of Indus settlements line its now dry bed, a civilization that built itself along a river which simply isn't there anymore. When the river disappeared, the cities along it died. Harappa itself may have been abandoned because the Ravi River shifted its course, leaving the city without water. A third theory involves tectonic activity. The Indian subcontinent is seismically active. Major earthquakes could have altered river courses, destroyed infrastructure, and triggered social collapse. Some researchers have found evidence of a major flood at Mohenjo-daro. Silt deposits cover the latest occupation layers. The city that mastered water may have been destroyed by it. A fourth theory involves disease. Some skeletons found at Mohenjo-daro show signs of diseases like tuberculosis and leprosy. An epidemic could have weakened the population beyond recovery. And a fifth theory, the most debated, involves migration. Some scholars believe that new peoples speaking Indo-Aryan languages moved into the region in the centuries that followed, bringing different customs and traditions. This theory remains genuinely contested among historians and is tied closely to questions of identity in South Asia today. Genetics, linguistics, and archaeology each offer different, sometimes conflicting evidence, and no consensus has been reached. What's clear is that the Indus script disappeared. Whatever language the Indus people spoke, it wasn't preserved in later traditions in any form we can confirm. The Vedas, composed centuries later, were in Sanskrit. Or was it? Some scholars argue that Dravidian languages, still spoken in southern India today by over 200 million people, may be descendants of the Indus language. The strongest evidence comes from a Dravidian-speaking pocket in Pakistan today, isolated from other Dravidian languages by 1,000 miles. Others link the Indus language to an unknown family entirely, one that left no confirmed descendants at all. If the Dravidian connection is correct, the Indus people didn't vanish. They migrated south as conditions worsened, carrying their language and culture into what would become southern India, while a small remnant stayed behind, eventually surrounded by newer arrivals speaking different tongues. The truth is, we don't know for certain. The Indus civilization left no descendants we can clearly identify, or it left millions. It depends on who you ask and what evidence you trust. After the cities were abandoned, the Indus people didn't disappear overnight. They scattered. Small villages replaced great cities. The urban tradition collapsed, but the people remained, living simpler, smaller lives. Some of their traditions may have survived. The use of bindis, the practice of yoga, the worship of certain animals, the design of certain jewelry. Some may echo Indus Valley traditions, but the cities never returned. The great grid streets, the indoor plumbing, the standardized bricks, the massive reservoirs, all were forgotten. The knowledge was lost. For over 3,000 years, the Indus Valley Civilization was completely forgotten. The people who lived in the region didn't know that beneath their feet lay the ruins of one of the world's greatest ancient societies. When the archaeologists finally came, they named things: the Great Bath, the Priest King, the Dancing Girl, the Mound of the Dead. But these names are our names, not theirs. We don't know what they called themselves. We don't know what language they spoke. We don't know what gods they worshipped, if any. We don't know how they were governed. We don't even know why they disappeared. What we do know is what they built, and what they built was extraordinary. They built a civilization with no kings we can name, no temples we can clearly identify, no armies carved into stone. Without slavery, that we can confirm. Without the extreme inequality seen elsewhere, they built it to last, and for 1,000 years, it did. And then it was gone. Not with a bang, not like the Bronze Age collapse, but with a whisper, a slow fading, a quiet ending. The Indus Valley Civilization challenges our assumptions about what civilization means. We assume cities need rulers. We assume societies need hierarchies. We assume progress requires warfare. The Indus people suggest otherwise. They were not primitive. They were not simple. They were, in many ways, more advanced in certain respects than the civilizations that came after them. And yet, they are the ones we know the least about. Every seal we find, every brick we uncover, every skeleton we analyze, each one brings us closer to understanding. But the script, the key to their minds, their thoughts, their stories, remains locked. Somewhere, perhaps, a longer inscription waits. A bilingual text, a library of clay tablets, something that will finally crack the code and let the Indus people speak. Until that day, the Indus Valley remains history's greatest silent civilization. Built by people we can see but cannot hear. Known by what they made, not what they said. Because the past is never really past. It echoes.